Hello and welcome to Extra Vibes, the show that gives you extra content.
Thank you, Mr. Vasey. The introduction that obviously won Most Imaginative Introduction Award at the Imaginative Introduction Awards in Dusseldorf.
Many were there.
That is the 7th time I've practiced that, and it's the only time I've got it right. It ruined our dinner for me and Jade. Now, of course, we've got a very...
I had to wade my way through the crowds for that
That was a very, very busy occasion.
I know.
Now, of course, we've got a very special guest this evening. When we arrived, we were chatting about looking over the past year in terms of rock albums. We wanted the best, but the best was busy. And then we wanted the second best. The second best
and I was
busy.
already here.
And Ryan was already there. But then Ryan said, why don't we get the most excellent? Oh, that was shit, that was. The most excellent.
The most excellent.
The most excellent, absolute ear to the ground of modern rock music, and particular albums that come out this year. He's definitely going to pick things that we'd never thought of. It's Mr. Lee Graham of The Rock Show.
Cheers, guys. I didn't know you did a good Sean Connery impression, Aaron.
Thank you. I try very hard. Most excellent. Apologies for that introduction, Mr. Graham, but thank you for joining us.
The pleasure's all mine, dudes.
So in terms of our thinking with this, boys, because everybody has a different thing when picking albums. You know, everyone, whether you might pick it on enjoyment, you might pick it on quality. Lee, what was your thinking behind your list?
I guess behind my list, like we were talking off air, was not so much even like what top 10 of my favourite bands released an album this year. It was what I personally believe are the top albums of this year. Some of these bands, if you were to do it on singles that they released this year, like standalone singles or whatever it might be, the bands themselves, how I would rate them live or whatever, it'd probably be a completely different list. But I try to focus on the album as an art form, as from start to finish. You know, what don't I flick over in the car? What do I sit and listen and consume to? What would I not skip a track on? You know, what do I love from start to end, basically?
Yeah, I mean, that was basically my approach. It was like, what albums do I enjoy start to finish? You know, do I enjoy this all the way through? Will I get through this album without skipping a track? And is it enjoyable? You know, it might not be musically the best album on my list, but in terms of, you know, is it enjoyable to listen to? Can I bang it on at any point? You know, will I get something from it, like a good experience from it? So that's kind of how I put together my top 10.
Mine was kind of a bit on the car test, Lee. Mine was the vinyl test. You know, would I have this album? We talk about a lot on the Vibe, don't we, Ryan? Would I have this holy
place?
Have
it on vinyl?
Would I have it on vinyl? I think every one of my top 10s I'd have proudly on vinyl. So that's kind of my thinking with it. So honourable mentions, boys. It's a very serious award if you get me on vinyl. So honourable mentions, boys. Mr. Lee, what are your honourable mentions?
Yeah, my honourable mentions started with about 17 of them because I was trying to track down from about top 27. So the first one that came to mind, though, that's got to be mentioned, and the only reason this didn't come out in the top 10 is because it's an EP, and that's Gorilla Riot's Solace EP. I think the guys have actually treated form on this. They've gone and done what they want to do with it. It's really acoustic, more slow kind of paced stuff compared to their Peach album that they released last year. And I think the guys have absolutely stormed it. I think it's exactly the sort of thing they should release. I don't think they could have got a whole album out of it, and I think there's certain albums out there that could and probably should have been EPs because there's about 4 or 5 decent songs and then a load of filler. But I think there's an honour in saying, right, no, this is the collective we want to represent, and I think Solace is a great collection of songs. I know it was a load of personal songs for Arjun in writing them, and I think he was planning on putting these out as a solo thing rather than Gorilla Riot banner. But the boys heard him and went, no, we want to, you know, put our stamp on it and make it us. And I think it's a great release. And like I say, that's the only reason it's not on the top 10. If it was top 10 releases of 2021, it probably would have been up there. But as an album, obviously can't put it up there. And the sort of other honourable mention for me is Empire's the Other Side. Again, another acoustic rendition type album, but with this being renditions of the first album that they done, I thought what they did was really clever with it. I thought some of the songs, because they had different spaces on it and all the rest of it, sounded better, in my opinion. With certain songs, I prefer the versions of On Other Side, but equally, as it was an album for 2021, I wanted to focus on new music that was written in 2021. So that was the only reason it didn't make my top 10.
Cool. I like the Gorilla Right choice because I think that was ballsy from
really
Gorilla.
great move.
You know, a lot of bands put pressure on themselves at this point in their career to be coming out with albums and to be delivering, absolute, rock bangers. And, they just do what they want. And that's what I've always liked about Arjun and the Gorilla Boys. So, good choices. What about yourself, Mr. Vasey? Which ones didn't make the cut?
That sounds brutal. That didn't get in my top 10. I'm kicking off with Electric Black, Beggars, Thieves and Everything in Between. It doesn't get in there because it is an EP, obviously, so it's it can't get into best albums. But in terms of quality, it's a very good EP. They've shown variety. They can bang out a rockier track like Candle to Queen, but they can show other sides to the band as well at the same time. My other honourable mention is the Nova Hawks with Redemption. Very solid first debut album. It's got that kind of retro vibe that I personally enjoy, and again, it shows different flavours in there. But it was tough. At one point, it was my number 10, but it was jostling for position like many others were. And my last honourable mention, which was a surprise to me really when I listened to it at the time, is Clockwork Wolf & Co. with Church of the Wolf. Again, it doesn't make it in because it's an EP, but of course it's Rob Chapman's side project, who of course we interviewed a few months back. And he surprised me in many regards because I always see him as that kind of tech guy. But he's actually got a great voice on him, and he's got some killer riffs in there, some really catchy choruses, and it's as you said there, Lee, with an EP, like there's it's like it's all killer no filler. It's just really like I believe it's like 4 tracks, but it's they're all like really strong, and not many people outside of that kind of Rob Chapman circle are really talking about it, and I think it just deserves a bit of a mention, a bit of a chat about, because I think it's a great EP. So that is my honourable mentions.
Big fan of the Electric Black nod. I think that's a really good chat. I know, Lee, from our recent chat with them, you've really got into.
Yeah, man, I'd not heard them before. I'd heard the name about, but for whatever reason, just not heard themselves. And then, watching the episode the other week when the guy was on, and just started listening to the guys and just giving a couple of spins on the radio since. A really strong band. I don't know why they're not sort of a bit further down the line. Hopefully, this EP will gain them a bit more momentum.
Yeah, definitely, boys. My honourable mentions, similar to the EP chat, is Crownland's White Buffalo EP. Me and Rai speak a lot about this because I think they've obviously changed and developed a little bit as a band. That rockier Jack White sort of thing that was with the debut album has kind of gone a little bit now, and they've definitely gone into progland, which I'm personally a bit more of a fan of. My beard gets longer. I don't get wiser, but I definitely get more progressive as the days go on. My dad said it'd happen. I said he was a liar, and now I listen to Bartley James Harvest. The Crownlands thing, the sound's very much my sort of thing. I vibe off it, and I think it's incredible, as we've said many times with Crownlands, it's 2-piece and there's so much going off. It's like they want to make it more hard work for the two of them doing this more progressive stuff. But I admire that, the musicianship, the overall storytelling is very much up my street. Other one is The Darkness with Motorheart. When it first came out, very recent, this one, I think it was the past month or so, because I'm currently on tour with Baz and the Boys in Wagons. I weren't vibing on it, but then I've given it time and a bit of, like we say, giving it the car treatment, and it's like, No, I like this. This is cool. It's still a little bit more Spinal Tap than Queen and AC/DC, but they've found a place that they're comfortable with, and I like that. You know,
I think they're very. Sorry to interrupt you there. I think they're very self-aware.
Yes.
Like they know kind of what they are. It's like they open with that track that's like a killer riff, and it's just them going Glasgow.
They played it for the first time on the tour in Glasgow, and it's amazing. Just them going, "Welcome to Glasgow," and they were big riffs. And the moment changed for me when me and Sam, based in Rivers, were listening to it, and Sam was like, "Oh, this is awesome! This is amazing!" Like, and he kind of said, "You know, oh, they don't give a shit. Like, they're just doing whatever they want." And I like that. You know, it's like that little switch and that little understanding of like, yeah, this is cool. And my final one's Dirty Honey, self-titled. You know, it's I've really vibed on the EP, and I like the album. I do, but the trouble is, California's Dreaming for me is the best song on the record, and it sets the bar. And the trouble is, they don't really kind of rise above it, and there isn't. With albums, you want textures, you want a bit of a narrative, you want to have a slow one, you want to have a fast one, blah blah, and it doesn't really do that. It's just Dirty Honey getting progressively kind of less exciting as the album goes on, but enjoyable. A lot of the things you said, Mr. Vasey, enjoyable, something I can enjoy, but there's albums in the top 10 that I enjoyed, it was more impressed with than others. So yeah, let's dive into it, boys. Let's do it. Rub the hands.
Diving in to number 10, what is, kicking things off, what is Lee's number 10?
So my number 10 is the band Life Signs with their most recent album, Altitude. I'll be honest, I don't think Life Signs are not in the mainstream at all. I was fortunate to very much more on the progressive side of things. Sort of singer and main guy, I guess, in the band, John Young. He was in Asia for a little bit in the 80s. Other guys, a pure pop, project of passion, and I think that really shines through in the work that they produce. I think John, they've all got like session jobs and during the daytime and all that. So John plays like keys for Bonnie Tyler and stuff. But my wife Jo, she's very much more on the progressive side of things than I am, and she'd heard the name and wanted to go see him. So we went to go watch him at Rambling Man Fair, and live, that was me hooked. Just the musicianship amongst them was insane. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a good progressive album when the opening track comes in at over 15 minutes long.
Ryan's wet dream, that is.
I could grow a beard in that length of time. Like we were talking about earlier about the car tests, and that is normally the test for me. I will put an album on the way to work and see if it lights me fire, so to speak. And I think I'll put this on and I'll soak it up. And I think I got to listen to about a song and a half before I got in the pulled up in the car park at work. And I listened to the other half of the song and then another one on the way back. And over the course of about 2 weeks, I listened to the full album. But loved every minute of it. So yeah, if you're into the more progressive side of things, definitely go check out Life Signs if you haven't already. Yeah, take a week off work as well.
Yeah. You might get to listen to it twice.
My number 10, it's a surprise to many. Some people will go, "You're insane. It should be at number 1." But this is kind of like my personal taste where it comes in. My number 10 is Iron Maiden with Senjutsu. Many people will say, this is a great piece of work and stuff, and it is. Hence why it is number 10. But for me, it goes kind of more down that prog road. And for me, I'm kind of a more straight up rock kind of guy. So like, I think for many people, like it'll kind of divide Iron Maiden fans. I think if you fall on that side of like, you're a 2 Minutes to Midnight kind of fan, you like that kind of tight, kind of more metal rock edge that Maiden have, you might struggle a little bit more with this one. Whereas if you enjoy that kind of proggy stuff like Book of Souls and that where they kind of teased with the previous album, you'll enjoy this as well. For me though, it's kind of The biggest problem I have is that in numerous songs, Bruce kind of just sings along to the melody, and I think that they're capable of doing more. They've shown that they're capable of doing more, and I feel that this is a good album, but I think it could have been great. For me personally, it doesn't quite go into that greatness category. It wavers a little bit in the middle. I struggle a little bit, but all in all, it is still a great album. It's Iron Maiden. You know, their standards are way higher than probably other bands. So it is still number 10.
I think the thing is, though, like you say, Ryan, you are going to get either you're going to love 2 Minutes to Midnight, or you're going to love if you like Book of Souls, it's a great album.
Yeah. If
you didn't get on with Book of Souls, or even to a certain extent Final Frontier, the predecessor to that, then you're not going to get on with this. I think that's
and it does split major. I mean, me and Ryan, and we'll get onto it where it's at in my list, have been split in terms of opinions for it, because I prefer that more progressive side. And I agree, I think it's closer to Final Frontier. I think Book of Souls is a bit more. I didn't really enjoy Book of Souls, but I've enjoyed Senjutsu and I enjoy Final Frontier, and we'll obviously get into that a bit later on. But it does, it has split a lot of Maiden fans. But like you say, the quality's still there, and it's still a testament that they are able to deliver something that is in your top 10, despite not necessarily being something that you're necessarily fully vibing on. Shows the quality in general still very much there.
Yeah, so I was going to say it's the musicianship is still ridiculous, and I believe 18 albums now. I believe it's the 18th.
The majority of them have been bloody awesome as well.
And this is it. But I think to have an 18th album that's kind of doing something a bit different as well, is a bold decision at this point in your career. You don't have to. You could do paint by numbers Iron Maiden at this point, but they've chosen not to, and I respect them for that, and I think that's why it's my number 10 still.
Cool.
But yes, moving on.
So my number 10 is bloody hell, Mr. Pace, I don't have a chance yet.
Moving on, because I don't care about your number 10.
This is Beyond the Vibe, delivers you extra content with Liam Ryan Vasey this evening. I'm but merely a jester in the corner. My opinion does not matter.
No.
So forcibly pushing myself back to the front, my number 10 is The Damn Truth.
Yeah.
This is who we are now. No, it's Now or Nowhere, isn't it?
Nowhere.
I was about to go. It's Now or Nowhere.
It's Now or Nowhere, yeah. I always think of it as being This Is Who We Are Now because of how much of an impact that had as the lead singer. And I think we chat a lot about this, right? Don't we? A lot of in Maiden albums, a good example. A lot of albums come out first single, very strong, very exciting, because obviously to pull fans in, get them excited for the album. But the trouble is then it sets a bit of a precedent. And I kind of felt that a little bit with Now or Nowhere. And when we initially spoke to the guys, they were really cool. I mean, they've got the image spot on, and the character and identity of the band, which I think is a massive part of it. If I want to get into an album, if I'm vibing on the story and the energy of the album, I think I'm probably about 35% more likely to get into it. When I got into Pink Floyd, a lot of that stuff's really intense and quite difficult because I wanted to get into it. I'm willing to push myself a little bit more. And this was one where I, like you say, Lee, I put it in the album, really gave it that time. And as I started to give it that time, it started to really grow on me. Songs like Tomorrow, Only Love, Everything Fades, To Kill a Track. It was like this is actually a really cool album. And I think it's the reason why they've had so much exposure by Planet Rock, and UK fans in particular have really talked to them. So I'm looking forward to them coming over and doing some shows. Sadly, the European tour has had to be postponed, though, hasn't it? So
yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure when we'll get to see them, but killer album and killer band with killer vibe. So yeah, that's my number 10.
Nice choice.
Moving on to number 9, we have got there.
with my approval, you can now move on.
If that's okay with you. What is Lee's number 9?
Number 9 is a band that I saw recently. Again, but playing with Aaron at Total Rock's 21st birthday bash the other week.
Great gig.
Great gig, man. It was awesome.
Great gig.
And it's Sweet Crisis with Tricks on My Mind. I first caught the guys live at Ramblin' Man Fair. I'd heard Black Magic, which is on the album. I think at the time it was on an EP. The album version is very much more grungy. You saw the cool core idea on the EP, but it's definitely stepped up a game on the album. And yeah, it's just it's nice to see them finally get a full-length album out. They've been focused on EPs and singles, and it's got so many layers to it, this band. You know, there's soul in there, there's funk, there's R&B, there's blues, obviously rock, and there's everything in between, and it all makes up like this beautiful, rich tapestry that is Sweet Crisis. They're a band that, in my opinion, don't get enough credit on the scene. Hopefully with a full-length, release behind them that will push them on further, because they're one of the finest bands out there, as far as I'm concerned. And it is the only album on my top 10 that I only own on vinyl. There's albums on here that I own both, and I do need to get a copy for the CD because playing vinyl in the car is a right bastard. But
don't want to hit a corner.
No, that needle scratching. The cops never believe you either.
No.
Why did you turn that corner really suddenly? I was changing my album. But yeah, like we were saying off air, an album, especially like vinyl-wise, it encourages you to pay attention and to sit and soak it up. And I think this is an album that needs it. I think it just needs and deserves that attention. There's so much soul and emotion in that record that to give it anything other than what I would call a proper listen, where you're not looking at your phone, you're not watching the telly, you're just sitting there and zoning in and soaking up, I think it deserves it. And yeah, that's my top 9.
Lee, you should write their bio on their website, man. Like, when you were fucking rolling out the stuff about that tapestry, I was like, bloody hell, Sweet Crisis need to get Lee on the socials, man.
Hire this man.
Who is this man? Hire him, pay him everything. Now I'll be your agent, and between the two of us, we'll make it happen. But good choice. Like I said, I wasn't aware of them on the scene, so it was a new one for me as well.
What did you think to them live, man?
I liked him. I'll be honest with you, because I think that's a lot of what the podcast is about. Is they didn't grab me seeing them live. I will check out the record, because I think that's a different experience. I got a much more sort of a John Mayer blues sort of vibe. The lead guitarist in particular had a killer blues tone, which I did enjoy. Yeah, really killer tone for what they were doing. I think it was, I was kind of waiting for it to go up that little bit of a notch. But then again, like I think we were given the example of what my number 10 was with The Damn Truth. I wasn't into them when I first listened to the album, and I'm a big believer that you have to give things time and get to know the band and get to know the identity, and it's difficult because I think when you're at a gig, and you just get a flash in the pan, it's hard to take a full intake. But I like the vibe. They're going again for that vintage sort of thing, which I think is really pushing through at the minute. So I'm excited to properly give the record a spin under your recommendation. Mr. Vasey coming in hot at number 9. I will allow you to say your number 9. What have you got?
My number 9, it's Dirty Honey's self-titled debut album. For me, this is a great rock album. Like, it's enjoyable. It's one of those, like, I do think it kind of fades, and it doesn't top. The rest of the album doesn't top the first track there, California Dreamin', but it's one of those that you could put on in a car, or you could leave on in the background or something when you're doing something, and you can have a fun time with it. It's a fun album. It's got that kind of Aerosmith vibe. It's got that kind of retro vibe to it. Yeah, but I do think it would have been higher on my list if they'd have included some of the tracks off the EP. Like, for example, When I'm Gone, which is just a killer single, and like Down the Road, which I think would just add a bit more flavour to the album. But, it is their first album. And if I could play an instrument, I'd be pretty happy with that as a first album.
It's it's very cool. It's devastatingly cool, and I'm excited.
You feel cool.
Yeah, it's one of them where if I was gonna, like, I don't know, drive like a Mustang off the side of a canyon, I'd probably want to do it to that album, because it just makes you feel. I'd wear a cowboy hat on.
Yeah.
I've not been thinking about it, but yeah, it's very cool, and they're very good. I've been very excited to see what the second album is, because I think people around them will be saying, look, you need to have some ballads in there, you need to develop the sound and the identity of the band a bit. Obviously, they're on tour in the States with the Black Crowes, which will be awesome for them. Like, that's a great
band for them.
I know. I got excited when I saw that. announcement, and I was like, oh, it's not the UK.
I know, that's it. But hopefully, when they come over here, we can see them shake their tang.
We should all go to that one.
Yes, 100% agreed. We'd just see the tour with in the UK as well.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
We'd happily tour with them just in case.
Yeah,
just get that out there. Similar to Dirty Honey Rye, my number 9 is similar, very similar reasons, just very enjoyable, and it's the treatment with Waiting for Good Luck. Cool. I was pissed, man, with this album didn't get enough love. Like, I think it's a disgrace. You know, it's a disgrace. You know, because the thing with the treatment, they're kind of at that level now, a bit like Airborns of this world. You know, where it's because they've been around since that first wave, you know, because me and Ryan, we'd have been like 16, 15 sort of, you know, when the first album came out. It's hard because I think people naturally feel like the treatment have kind of reached their potential maybe, whereas bands can change and grow and develop, and I think this is them now, obviously with the singer in place, finding themselves, and from start to finish, boys, I don't get sick of it. Like I don't think it drops. I think it don't hit the heights of albums in my top 3, but bloody hell, it's a lot of fun.
Solid though, isn't it?
Along the way.
Really
yeah,
solid,
man, because I love songs like Whole Fire. I'll be in the car and I'll be like,
this is it. Yeah.
And Rat Race as well. If you get like the ultimate Def Leppard, because it's dangerous. Fully Def Leppard, but I like that. You know, trying something different, doing something cool. You know, and yeah, I think it definitely deserves some more love, which is why it's in my top 10.
No, I completely agree. I think very much like what I mentioned about with the Dirty Honey thing. There, it's fun. You know, it's an enjoyable album.
Very enjoyable. Makes my foot tap to bloody hell and back. You know, I'm struggling to find to hell and back.
To hell and back.
To hell and back. You're listening to Alan Partridge.
Yeah.
Next up, we're speaking
to Norfolk's youngest butcher.
Listen, it's hard to be creative all the time. All right? Sometimes the cringe just pours out of me. I'm getting to that age, right? All right, it's difficult. All right, you're basically
younger than me.
You're basically the Jeremy Clarkson of rock and roll. So you can keep your mouth shut. Okay. Mr. Graham, what is your number 8?
So my number 8 is When Rivers Meet and Saving Grace. Their debut album, We Fly Free, was definitely an album for me last year, and I think that everything that was promised on We Fly Free was delivered by the bucket load with Saving Grace. The songs on this are amazing. They've gone for a much more fuller sound in it. They've recently announced a full band to deliver these songs live. When I was speaking to Aaron and Grace for the radio show, prior to them to announcing that, they were saying that they were looking for, they'd always imagined it being a full band, and as soon as they felt the time was right, that they would do just that. And I think the time's right for them. I'm off to see them on Saturday here in Bury St Edmunds, and looking forward to that.
Amazing.
And I just think I think the only reason it's a little lower down than it might be is because, like you were saying with the Darkness release, Aaron, it's a new hardrelease. So I've not got to
have that time.
Yeah, I've not got to delve into it as much as I would like, but it's certainly worthy of my top 10 already.
The band of the year, When Rivers Meet, really, aren't they? It feels like this year they've absolutely fucking exploded.
And my brother-in-law's just joined them on drums.
Are they?
Yeah, Joe's brother's joined as part of the band that they've announced to support.
Oh, amazing, man.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's not the reason they're in the top 8.
I was going to say, is that
it's all right, Lee. Don't worry. It's all right. You we're all friends here. I know Joe's in the background. Don't worry.
You could say I'm in the band spiritually. You know.
They're sort of my in-laws.
Yeah.
No, good choice. Very cool choice. Mr. Batesy coming in hot. Number 8.
My number 8 is Greta Van Fleet with I believe it's called The Battle at Garden's Gate. Bit of a mouthful. When this album first came out, me and Aaron, we've had many discussions on Greta.
I think nearly every podcast for about 4 or 5 months.
Somebody's going,
about
it's Greta Van Fleet again. but when this album first came out, I was like, ooh, I'm not so sure about this. I don't know, maybe my expectations were a bit higher.
Opening song again, innit? It's the opening single.
Yes, and it was this thing, and maybe it's the same problem with Iron Maiden, because their opening single was fantastic as well, and I don't think they bettered it, same as Greta Van Fleet, with it's My Way Soon, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's very much like what you said, Aaron, in the past, where I feel this album has too many epics in it. And that sounds ridiculous saying it, but I think when you have all of these songs that have, got this big grand scale to it, it kind of devalues it in a way. Like, it becomes a bit of a thing of like, here we go again. It's one of these big kind of grand sounding songs. It's like, I felt like they could have done with a few more kind of straight down the middle rockier songs like My Way Soon in there. But if they'd have peppered in a few more of those, I think it would have been higher on my list. But it has grown on me since.
I didn't think it was going to be in your top 10.
Yeah, I think listening to it now, I feel, I still kind of have to listen to it and have a break and then listen to the second half, which I think is a problem.
It's like a big meal, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like a big meal. I'm all bloated and fat by the halfway through, and I'm like, fuck, I can't manage this. I can't get through it. But I think for their age as well. I mean, they're all younger than me, which is outrageous.
I don't think they're fully developed as a band yet.
That's what I'm going to say. Like, they're not.
I get the feeling with them, though, they're still trying to find out.
Yeah.
They are 100%.
I agree. I don't think they quite know yet what they're doing.
I think it's there. I think they've just got to sift through the gold sort of thing.
I'm very excited to see if it's in your list, Lee.
We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
I can't wait to unveil where it is in mine, or if it's in mine at all.
Who knows?
I mean, it's going to be in it, you know what I mean? But, it might not be. Maybe that was.
That's the surprise. Who knows? But yes, that is my number 8.
Fantastic. My number 8 is a band that me and Rye had the absolute pleasure of recently doing a Beyond the Gear episode with. It is Robert, John and the Wreck. Shine a Light on Me, Brother. Now, Rye will know, right? When we went to see when we went to see Robert, John and the Wreck, I fell a little bit in love with Robert, John and the Wreck.
He was throwing his hands up in the air. He was like, loving it.
You didn't throw his pants at him, did you?
I wasn't wearing any to throw by the time I got to the end of the
I had to
gig.
drag him away.
Henry on lead guitar, who's in his own band as well, which is fantastic, progressive.
I didn't realise Henry had his own band.
Yes, I will find the name of them for you before the end of the show. Really cool band. I only just discovered it, been chatting to Henry a little bit, and he's such an amazing guitarist. And for me, it's a bit like everything I look for. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a bit like Boston. There's a bit of Allman Brothers in there. It's just, I love that American songwriter vibe. A bit of Tom Petty as well. And Robert John's got this. When you get into bands, you want a front man that you can really fall for. It's like a bit iconic vibe, and Robert John's got that. He's the coolest fucker in the room. Every man wants to be him. Every woman wants to sleep with him. You know what I mean? It's just, he's so cool. And the whole gig, I was just like, this one, all right.
I know, you were loving it.
I was absolutely loving it. And this album isn't, and I actually think that there's albums that I've said before this, maybe even the honourable mentions, that might be better albums. But for my own personal connection to the album and my enjoyment, it is why it's where it is on the list for me. There's certain songs on there. Shine a Light on Me, Brother, I think it's wicked. Ain't No Young Love Song. Chicago, I think it's a great song.
I love.
Yeah. Oh, Chicago. I just well into it. I just think it's great.
Was he singing like that, Ryan, when you went to go see him?
I was almost fooled that I thought it was Robert John then.
we didn't actually go. I just performed the gig and Ryan went, this is better. This is better. But yeah, I think it's not as strong an album as Last Light on the Highway, which I think is genuinely fantastic. Really,
I think that for me, that if that had come out this year, that would have been way up in my list.
Yeah, that'd be my top 5, man.
I agree.
Killer album.
And that's no discredit to Shine a Light on Me, Brother.
No.
I still enjoyed that album. Yeah.
And I really, really dig it. She's just warmth and happiness, and well into it. So yes, that is
feel good, isn't it?
It's very it's horrifically feel good. It makes American apple pie and throw it in my face.
I left that gig and I was like, I feel great. Like,
I felt like I could have run a marathon, or like, it was like 3 non-toxic drugs. It was fantastic, and that's what the best music should be. So yes, that was my number 8, Robert John, Sound Like Me Brother. Number 7, Mr. Graham, what have you got?
I've got with Florence Black and Weight of the World.
Oh, great album.
Yeah, obviously I had fortunate enough to have these guys play Just Push Play this year. First call them live support in Hollister. Mate of mine, Gary, looked at me and went, have you seen these before? And I went, no. He went, you knowing what I love, was like, you're going to love these. I was like, okay. And he went wrong. And what I love about this, the guys have, in my view, from when I saw them the first time 2 years ago, and going from strength to strength. And I think the production on this album is fantastic. It would be very easy for a band like Florence Black, who are obviously very heavy, very riff orientated, but they've also got a lot of groove and a lot of swing to their sound, especially Perry with his drumming. He reminds me a bit of Bill Wall type of drummer, more of a jazz drummer. He's just got that heavy swing to him, and he's got that groove about it. And it would be very easy for a person to take them and give it more of a heavy metal type production on it, and they'd have that power would be fine on the album, but that groove and the swing would be lost. And equally, the other side of the coin, they could focus on the groove and swing too much and lose that power side. But I think the production sets them up perfectly, and it just takes it up to elevate these songs from, all the way from Zulu to Sun and Moon. When they first released that Sun and Moon, I love the fact that they released that as a single, because it was a bit of a departure for them. It wasn't so riff oriented. There's riffs in it, but it starts off a bit more melodic, to the point where I'm going, because I got sent it for the radio show, and the first 20 seconds I'm going, have I clicked on the right one? And then it has, and then it kicks in. And I think it's a bit of a departure. I think it showed the various textures on the album. There is light and shade in it. Obviously, one of the tracks is called The Light, so there's the light in it. But I'll come back to Alan Partridge impersonations again.
It creeps out you ever so easily by accident.
That's when you're on a radio show, trust me.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, Tristan's just been named best new guitarist by Music Radar, hasn't he? Because I saw that you shared it from the Just Push Play, and I think that's a testament, because I think a lot of that comes through on the album. From as a songwriter and as a guitarist as well. And I agree completely. I think it's a killer album, man. Good choice.
My number 7. This is an album. I am correct, isn't I? So, I was doubting myself. I just
I was reminding Aaron.
I saw you wave your hand. And I was like, have I got this right?
This is basically like 3 blokes sat in the pub, except there's no alcohol. It's literally like I'm just 2 in the
meandering
morning.
My way through. My number 7. It's an album that I only listened to this Saturday, so it's only just
bloody hell.
It's crept through there. It's Miles Kennedy with the Ides of March.
Cool.
Of course, it's a different kind of album for Miles Kennedy, but I just think it's really well made, and it's lyrically it's very strong. It kicks off with a bit more of a riffier vibe, but it's not typical heavy kind of stuff. But it's just got many different flavors in there, and it offers me something different that he hasn't done before. And obviously vocally he's fantastic. He always is. Yeah. And I was debating on where to put this particular album. But it was one of those of like, there's just 6 others that I like a little bit more. Like we're already at the point where it's like, it's small margins here.
Yeah, I think that's the same, definitely, mate.
Exactly. But yes, he's still very much in my top 10, and I'd be interested in hearing some of this live, because I really think it would have an extra feel to it live. It feels like it could be a good experience. So yes, that is my number 7.
I tell you, we've absolutely changed it's gone serious now, boys. The fact that Lee, you've come in with Florence Black and then Ides of March. I mean, they're 2 from front to back pretty strong albums. It's like, shit, this is going to be serious now.
I know, we're only at 7.
I know, that's the worry. We are a 7, aren't we, Lee? You're now the conductor of this, because I've gone loose as normal. So my number 7 is Royal Blood with Typhoons.
Cool.
So I've always been into Royal Blood. I really like the whole 2-piece vibe, and I love the whole kind of lots of pedals and gear, and the way obviously that Mike plays a bass, and gets that real fuzzy octave groove in there. Typhoons feels like it's them elevating themselves to this next level. What I like about Royal Blood is they do the crossover between Radio 1, Kerrang and Planet Rock, and some people can vibe on that. I think like somebody like me, my dad and a lot of rockers that I'm mates with, I think could struggle because it does fall into that pop world. But because for me there's that fuzzy groove there, I can't help but enjoy it. And the drums as well, man, they've got this real kind of like R&B style, drum groove that they've got going on. And from start to finish, I just think it's awesome. Like you said with the Florence Black, I think production is what elevates it. And I think a lot of the best albums of the year, the production, if it wasn't as good as it is, wouldn't give the best platform for the material to shine through. And this one, every time if I put it in the van, it's just an absolute groove fest from start to finish. And just really enjoy it. It was a bit of a surprise for me because I'd kind of moved on from Royal Blood a little bit, whereas this just slapped me straight back in the face, and it was like, shit, this is a bloody good album. This is. So that is my number 7. Now then, right, we're getting serious because this is the last track, obviously before the top 5. You see, I'm very good at maths.
You are correct.
I am very correct. Now, and top 5 is serious time, boys. So Lee, leading us in, what is your number 6?
It's one you guys have both mentioned earlier. Actually, it's Dirty Honey, self-titled.
Oh, cool. Yes.
For me, I first got into these guys. Anyone knows me knows I'm a huge Aerosmith nut, so it's no surprise that their albums are a little higher on my list.
Very Aerosmith.
Yeah, very Aerosmith vibes. The first time I saw them, I got into them because of Tom Hammond, bass player of Aerosmith. He tweeted a link and he just put best cover of Last Child I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll just click it, Curiosity Killing the Cat, I'll check it out. And there was Dirty Honey doing it, a great rendition of Last Child. And I've always been of the opinion, being the Aerosmith addict that I am, that you don't cover Aerosmith, you leave them alone. That's fine. I was proved right when the Girls Aloud and Sugar Babes and that crap rendition of Walk This Way a few years ago.
Are you discrediting Girls Aloud?
Lee, are you not aware of Ryan's affinity with Girls Aloud? Yeah, that's his number 1 in this list. Yeah. They didn't even release an album.
Prepare yourself.
I was proved wrong when The Answer covered Sweet Emotion. Well, that was a great cover of that.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's a great rendition. I think they did it for Kerrang did a covers album thing. They did it for that. It was a great rendition. And proved wrong again by Dirty Honey. So, I'd agree that California Dreaming is probably the strongest contender on that album. But equally, the more I listened to it, the more I fell in love with songs like The Wire and things like that. Mm-mm. Yeah, for me, it's got to be up there in my top 6.
I'm interested to know, out of curiosity, did you hear the album before the EP, or did you hear the EP and then the album?
I heard the EP and then the album.
Oh, that's knackered my theory. Because my theory would be is if somebody listened to the album and then the EP, you'd think, oh, because for me, in my opinion, I think it's like kind of the other way around in terms of quality. I think the EP is just that little bit better. In terms of songs, I don't know. I think it's got that little bit more of a killer edge.
I think it's got that raw edge to it, the EP, certainly.
It'd be interesting to see what they do next. I think that's
that'd be a very interesting point of view.
Because like we said with Greta Van Fleet, this band's they're still relatively young, and they'll develop and grow similar to what Aerosmith did, and I think it would be interesting to see, because they'll need to develop and change and add texture in order to be able to have the longevity that they need, so it'll be interesting. I tell you what I like about this discussion, boys, is I don't know about you, but Dirty Honey is the one album where I'm thinking, thinking, I can't wait to listen to that tomorrow, even though it was in my honorable mentions, and there's a few albums we spoke about, and it's like, I can't, like Robert John the Wreck, I can't wait to listen to that tomorrow. It's what I like about this chat. It's like that you can tell they're the albums that are probably the fun ones, where it's like, can't wait to stick that on. Senjutsu is probably not going to stick that on first thing in the morning, but maybe later on in the evening, perhaps.
My number 6, we've mentioned it before. It's The Treatment, Waiting for Good Luck. For me, again, it's enjoyable. It's fun. It's got AC/DC vibes, but it's also, it's just like I could put it on and I could wash my dishes to it and I could feel cool. I could be like banging my head around while washing dishes, and I still feel like a rock star. And I think that's like a testament to them at this point in their career. It's definitely the best thing they've done since the first album. And I think it deserves more credit, as we've mentioned before. There, I think it's a killer album, and it's fun and it's enjoyable. So it is my number 6.
Good choice. My number 6. There's 2 reasons why it's not in my top 5, and it's a hard one. Ryan will know this. We spoke about it a bit already. It's Maiden with Senjutsu. So obviously Ryan was chatting about it and said that it's a good album. I think it's a great album. I'm a kind of one above that. But I think there's 2 reasons, as I say, that it's not in my top 5. The first one, I think, is the opening track. I think Senjutsu is actually a really poor opening track. I think if this album had The Wicker Man, I think it'd just bring it to life. It'd set that foundation, and then you've got Strategio, you've got Writings on the Wall, and it really comes to life a little bit. I think the middle section's actually some of its strongest songs, with Time Machine. I think Time Machine's a fucking great song. Days of Future Past, Lost and Lost World. But my second reason, I think it's not an epic Maiden album, is the 3 Steve Harris songs at the end. I think you mentioned it a little bit with the Greta Van Fleet thing, right? I think it just loses. It's like playing the same trick, doing the same trick as a magician 3 times, and then at the end going, "Oh, that was a good trick, wasn't it?" It's
like, you like this. Have it 3 more times.
A tiny bit longer. And I think some of them aren't as good. Like I think, is it Battle of the Celts, the first one? I think that only comes to life when the music takes over from the vocal melody. I think it really struggles. And I listened to Final Frontier recently, mainly for When the Wild Wind Blows. And that's epic for me, and the length it deserves, because it tells a story and you get pulled in, you get pushed away, and I love all that. But if you'd had When the Wild Wind Blows again after that, it wouldn't. It lose the focus of why it's so epic, So I think them 2 reasons, the intro song and having 3 of the Steve Harris epics, means it loses it a little bit for me. But I still think it's a good album. I think them songs in the middle, like say Ryan's on the World Time Machine, I think could work on Dance of Death and Brave New World quite comfortably. I think they're really strong Maiden songs. Like you said, right, I think with Bruce singing along to the melody, it seems like something he's done for a few albums, because I was listening to Final Frontier and he was doing that a little bit on there. So I think it's just part of the Maiden vibe at the minute, and it'd be interesting to know whether it's he might sing the melody and then the guitar copies that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So yes, my number 6 is a bit of a difficult one for me as the ultimate band, but it's Maiden with Senjutsu.
Cool.
Now top 5, gentlemen. I'm amazed we've made it this far. If I'm being
still here.
Still here, still hanging on. We hope people at home are still here with us.
Yeah. Well. No, we're still here, but no one else is.
Nobody else is. Mr. Graham, lead us into the top 5. What you got?
Yeah, top 5. Like I say, this is where it gets serious, and it is small margins between here and number 1. I promise you. These. In fact, the only one that didn't move over the next 5 was my number 1. It's the only one that's never moved.
Wow, massive credit that is.
But the others, like I say, because it's small margins, it's me listening to an album slightly more recently and going, oh no, that might be good. Back in order. But my number 5 is someone we've both had, both myself on the radio show and you guys on Beyond the Vibe respectively, is Troy Redfern with Fire Cosmic. That is my number 5. I think been a fan of Troy's for quite a few years now. Saw him at Crazy Cowboy Festival a few years ago. To me, one of the best slide guitar players going. and I love the sound. If someone's playing a resonator, I'm almost instantly hooked anyway. Especially when they play as well as Troy. Obviously, his previous albums are a lot more bluesy based, a lot more acoustic, some more electrified, but generally a bit more bluesy based than the rest of it. And like I say, I've got to know Troy quite well, and I had the sort of fortune of interviewing him both while he was recording the album and then after the album as well. So before I'd heard anything, I was just basing the album on the passion that I could see he had behind it, and how he, how he was constructing things, and how excited he was to get this out there. And just talking to him, I knew it was going to be a good record, because he's obviously always passionate about, like any artist, passionate about any releases, but he seemed particularly like, this has been a real focused album. This is what I wanted to do, and I've done it. And, he recorded it at Rockfield Studios and then mixed it at Abbey Road. It's ridiculous what he poured into it. And I think from start to end, it is a solid album. The drum sound on it is insane. I mean, in Rockfield, it's just known for its drum sounds that the drummers will get. And, I think, Darby and the guys played a great rhythm section over it. I think it's the strongest singing all the way through. I don't think there's a weak track on it. It's an album that when I going back to the car testing, not only do I not skip a track, the volume goes up as soon as it comes in. It doesn't matter what volume setting my car's on, it goes up even further. And I can't wait to see. Again, he's supporting the Sweet.
Another contender for Artist of the Year.
Oh God, yeah,
like 100%, man. Like Troy works so hard, and he's everywhere at the minute, and I think he's going to be everywhere next year as well. And he deserves to get all the plaudits he gets because he works hard for it.
Definitely, man. So yeah, that's my number 5.
Cool. Right, what are you coming in with? Top 5.
Me and Lee are at 1 because Troy Redfern with the Fire Cosmic is my number 5 as well. Yes, he's one of those that I hadn't heard of until we had our chat on Beyond the Vibe, and then we got sent the album, and I was like, ooh, like this is really good. It's killer track after killer track at this point. He really took me by surprise. For me, he's come out of nowhere. And his slide ability is ridiculous. I mean, I always love like a good slide player, but he's fantastic. And the one thing he does that I think I've had a problem with, like Grab Van Fleet and all that, he saves his epic till last.
Yeah,
his last track, and it feels like he's earned it at that point. And he has this big epic, and it's like, oh, this is great. I mean, I listened to the album as the sun was setting, and it was perfect. The sun was coming down, and the light was like beaming through as that final track was being played, and I was like, this is great. This has set the scene. And it was, it was jostling for position. It could have been number 4. But it was so tight, so much so that I nearly choked.
It's because we've got so much love for Mr. Redfern, haven't we? It's like it was too much for you. And I was getting emotional. I feel a particular shit house because I completely forgot about Troy's album. So I'm glad you boys have given it the credit it deserves. He's a killer. It's
a great album.
Then my number 5 is already mentioned by yourself, Mr. Lee, is Florence Black, Weight of the World. Now, Florence Black, we'd not really gigged with them, and I've not really got into them. And when this album came out, I saw a lot of buzz about it. So I chucked it on in the van, and straight away, like you say, it was the production grabbed me. And then the songwriting, man, like it's really on another level. And it really took me, because I didn't go out and seek to like some albums, it's like, I can't wait for Maiden's album to come out. I can't wait for Greta Van Fleet. I want to enjoy it. I'm receptive to it. I didn't have that with Florence, man. I had no previous attachment or like vibe with them. So I was completely open-eared, and it just blew me off my arse. Like, it's just fucking killer. Like, and I love the slower songs on the record. I think they really showcase Tristan's songwriting and the band's songwriting. And the 3 pieces are one of my favourite things, because they always seem more powerful than 4 pieces or 5 pieces. which is disgraceful. You know, it's like they work harder to do that. You know, I mean, songs like "Can You Feel It." It's got like a killer chorus hook. Zulu, I think, is a great way to start an album. They say, mate, Sun and Moon, because I'd not heard that until I listened to the album, and that was a fucking nightmare for me, because I was wandering around just going, hey, just every day it was just in me, and it was a nightmare. And like you say, at this point, from front to back, it needs to be all quality, and I get that with Weight of the World. I just think it doesn't drop. You know, it has nice textures, and really pulled me in, and it's like, I can't wait to see Florence Black now, man. I can't wait to see them gig this album. It's going to be killer.
Well, you're playing at Winter's End, didn't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know if we're on the same day. They've just announced the things for it, because we're playing the same day as Smith and Kotzen, which could have been another contender. So yeah, Florence Black.
That's another album I forgot.
Yeah, that was basically why I said it. I mean, I've only just started listening to it. But,
that's a brilliant album.
Yeah, another. They're just Coda have just been announced.
Yeah, I know.
Tour support, which is killer for them.
Imagine
going on tour with Adrian Smith, man. Fucking mental.
Just me and Adrian.
Just chilling out. I don't even like fishing. But beforehand, I'd be like that. Literally, just doing anything just to try and matey with him. But yes, that is my number 5, and hopefully we will see him at Winter's End if we have the pleasure of sharing the same day.